Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast following local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Flagler County. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Mike with us today. Mike, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on here, and thank you for thinking of me to come on.
Of course. Well, Mike and I think we met maybe about, oh gosh, it's been a while, but it's been really
Yes.
great connecting with Mike. And he's one of those super knowledgeable people about what he does. And he really takes the time to learn where someone's at and helping them and meeting them where they're at and not just pushing everything onto them. So I'm super excited to showcase Mike a little bit. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off and tell me just a little bit about your journey, coming here to Flagler and being here in Flagler?
Got you. So the journey's a little crazy when you think about how I ended up in Flagler. So I was born and raised down in South Florida, down in by the Everglades Swamp, small town. And then it became South Florida, big town, right? Well, I joined the Marines in '07, and I got stationed out in San Diego area, Oceanside. Um, was there until 2017. I got out in 2011, but I met my wife there in 2010. So of course I stayed out there. Um, and coming out here was the crazy part was out of all places, I ended up at Palm Coast, a small little town. Um, but it all started with the crazy part was so I have a stepson, and from my wife's previous marriage. And so having two different households, because that was involved, trying to three different people move from California all the way to Florida, and all of us be able to, still have careers and manage to do that transition while having a kid in elementary was really hard. Like we tried for like 2 years. Um, and finally it just came, it was literally like 2 months prior to us coming out here in 2017, where I had an opportunity, he had an opportunity, the dad, and then my wife, she's a respiratory therapist. So for her, it was easier to find a job. And we just had an opportunity. We just said, well, we have to do it. If we wait, we're never going to leave this place. Um, so I ended up in Palm Coast because of I was running the Norman office, and the main office was in Jacksonville. I didn't want to go to Volusia, mainly for schooling. Palm Coast was kind of also right in the middle. So we just took the leap and said, let's go to Palm Coast, and we'll see how it is. And really have loved it since then because I like the more quiet, relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot different to what you're used to.
Oh, I know that traffic, like even though like there's been a lot of people coming here, traffic is still non-existent here.
No,
It's
not to the level of, like South Florida or California or even Tampa or even Orlando. Like if you really
yeah,
don't even want to go that far, like I've been to Orlando a few times in the past few months, and every time I just dread driving around International Drive, driving anywhere downtown. I'm like, don't make me.
right, right.
I-4.
Oh my gosh, I try to avoid it now because my sister lives in Sarasota, so I try to
Um,
avoid. I go around
yeah,
the back
no.
ways.
Yeah, no, same thing for me in Tampa. When I go to Tampa, I don't go on I-4. I'm like, I can't.
Hmm.
Um, even going on 75 is pushing it. And that's, thankfully where my friend lives, I think I'm only on 75 for like 30 miles or something. But even
That's
that's
not too bad, but yeah, right.
these people scare me. So you've been here in Flagler for a little bit, I would say. But
Yeah,
that being said,
almost 8 years,
that's crazy. I mean, I feel like you're basically a veteran at this point. Everyone's so
right?
new. Being here, I think longer, being here pre-COVID definitely makes you a veteran in my eyes, but that's just how it is. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
Got you. So what I do, so I have a practice as being a financial advisor. Um, and what my really big thing that I do is on the financial planning side.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, I just try to help people plan for where they are, where they want to be, and how we can achieve that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't follow like a step process on how we can do that. And really, it's just really learning about the person, seeing what are their goals, what drives them to be who they are. And then from there, we just develop the fun plan that takes either we'll look at risk side, we'll look at either investment sides, and then we'll just go from there.
Perfect. So I think a really big thing that holds people up when it comes to financial planning is they can get embarrassed, right, about talking about something like this. But I'm sure you've been in the business long enough, you've seen it all. You don't go into any financial planning session and you go, I'm gonna make fun of this person to their face about their finances. So what would you kind of say to someone who's like, oh, I think I need it, but I just don't know what that looks like, and I'm scared.
Got you. So going back to your other point, yeah, I think if I were to ever say something like that, that would be an immediate like, we're not a good fit because that just doesn't work, right?
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, so what I tell them is, we all have to start somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're, a professional that's, business owner that's, making 200, 300,000 a year, or you're just starting off your career, $30,000 a year. The whole goal is to start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the way and go about the process, the way I hope is we can go through that process, have the meeting, show you the plan, and go through all of that without any charge to you. It's
Mm-hmm.
all non-fee based. There'll be recommendations on there that we can show you based on that, but the whole process is not charged. And one of my biggest things I like to tell people is, you know, think big, dream big, start small, but start.
Mm,
And so
I
that
like
just
that.
really means just start. Doesn't matter where you
Yeah.
are, but start.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is when someone has a big goal, right? And sometimes it's just so big, they're like, I'll never get there. It's not that you don't have those, but you have to have also something tangible that your brain can latch onto and go, okay, I'm not gonna get $1 million in savings tomorrow, but I can, start putting away $50 a month, right? $100 a month, something like that, right?
Correct. Exactly.
That's so
And
cool.
mhm.
And sorry, I don't want to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, no, what I was gonna say was, and then that all very personalized to what your main goal and objective. Some people are really focused on retirement right now. Some people are focused on, protecting family or the children. So we'll look at kind of what is important to you and base off of that. But, we just start somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. What does it look like if someone's like, all right, I'm sold, I do need to start somewhere, I might as well at least have, some type of consultation. What does that look like if they're looking to contact you? Do you start with like a short call? Do you meet with them? Like, what does that look like?
So I'm a little old school. I prefer a lot of face-to-face meetings.
Mm,
So if able to, they could come to the office, to my
mm-hmm.
office. A lot of times I'll visit them at their office or we'll meet like lunch or coffee, right?
Sure.
I also do Zoom. COVID kind of, made the industry very Zoom, not just the industry, but period. There's a lot of things happening too,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that would just be like a initial, conversation. Just let them know kind of what it is that we do, how we do it. And then if there's time and if it seems interested, then we will go into what I call like a discovery meeting, which is more
Mm,
just getting information,
mm-hmm.
which is your personal kind of information, where you are, money-wise, investments, what you're trying to accomplish, that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
After we do that, then me and team will get back and we'll take all the information, put it into a software that shows us, um, makes all these projections, right? And we'll then show you a financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that financial plan will, depending on how complex of a person I'm dealing with, it can be from 30 to like 180 pages.
Wow.
Just yeah. Yeah, when you get to
Comprehensive.
180, you're talking, they have stuff every which
Sure.
way, right? Um, so then we'll show you the plan, and in the plan, there'll be kind of, let's say, your current path where you are
Mm-hmm.
and where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And on the want to be, there'll be certain recommendations and um that we would say, hey, you should start here and start doing here, right?
Exactly.
So that would be the next step, would be showing you the plan. And then after that, usually they'll go home and be like, let me think about this, let me look at the plan and review it. And then the next meeting will be, all right, so if it's all set up, then we'll start working together, depending on what
Perfect.
capacity it is, but
Mhm.
there could be multiple capacities.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you walked through that process because I think another big part that prevents people from doing it is they either don't want to get locked into something too quickly, or they just don't know what they're walking into. Like, is this going to be, it's one of those things that like a timeshare pitch, right? You're like, they tell you
Mhm.
it'll be 30 minutes and then you're there for half a day. So I think it's great for you to have that transparency, like, oh, it'll be very less pressure, no pressure, whatever that word is,
Mhm.
and just learning what is your objectives. Is it a right fit for the two of you to even continue talking, to have another conversation? You're not going to get too down the line and go, wait, is this a terrible mistake? It's not.
Right,
It's not going to be
exactly.
something like
It
that.
just doesn't, work for me or the person, just,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Yeah,
better just keep it easy, see if it's a good fit. A lot of times it's just about personalities and,
for sure.
just vibes and connecting with that person.
Exactly. And it was funny that you mentioned, how much COVID has changed the financial services industry or just any industry in general. But I know financial services for, a fact, my mom, as you know, is helps as a financial coach. So, she was telling me pre-COVID, you had to do so much in-person forms, right? You couldn't even like talk to someone out of state, right? But
Mhm.
nowadays, everything is just so electronic. You don't always have to meet in person. If it's just something as simple as like, doing this or getting that signature, like it's just not what it used to be. And I think that's a very, I think it's funny for me, someone who had no conscious of what was going on pre-COVID when it comes to my parents' business. I was like, I don't know, you guys are doing something. I'll leave you alone. So like now they're like, yeah, this is what we're doing. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe how much paperwork had to go into everything.
Right. It definitely helped to streamline things without a doubt.
Yeah, it's something they kind of should have been doing anyway, like not even a COVID thing. It's just kind of like a convenience thing, but now we're all here, so it makes life easier.
Definitely. Yeah.
So switching gears just a little bit, you've been here, you said, for about 8 years, which is, like I said, pretty much veteran status here in Palm Coast. What have you and also your family liked to do the most in Palm Coast? Maybe places to go, events to go to, groups to join, anywhere you can kind of get active with the community, kind of put themselves out there.
So one thing I always say on that one is first you should see what it is that you like, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether it's business wise, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
personal, you just want to engage with people
Mm-hmm.
and see what it is that your interest is, and then look at what the events are. So there's lots of different groups out there. I like to use either Facebook, you could look at events. Um, I recommend going to like local groups.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on the Facebook, like one of them is like your 20 and 30 millennials page.
Yep.
That's good to meeting people. Like if you're trying to build personal connections. Also can be translated business, but I think that's a great, if it's something that you're interested in and fits your, demographic, what you're trying to do, join the group like that. Um, Another one is I'm a proponent of this chamber. Um, I'm part of the small business committee there, and I think, being part of chamber is always good because it just connects you with people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also have a nonprofit, so I always push, come join the nonprofit, which is a Ducks Unlimited one. Um, but honestly, it's really just seeing what's out there, and just joining it, just
Mm,
trying to see if it's out there. B&I, is always is a good one. You have Referral Diamond Club, Palm Coast Business Professionals. They're all great groups, great people. But how I started is before I even went to the groups, I just went to networking events
mm,
and started seeing like which ones and the fit that I would be for me. Because
right.
that's the most important thing. You could go to a group, but just because they're really good, they have so many people, they've been there for so long, it just might not be a fit with you.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's tons of groups out here, but my biggest thing is, honestly, Facebook pages, Facebook events, seeing what's on there and just joining and starting put my name out there.
Exactly. And I think what I really loved about the Facebook groups too is I feel like there's a group for everything. There's different
Right?
but there's like book club groups, but it like you can do like a specific genre of books that you like to read. You can, like you mentioned, the millennials, they do different stuff all the time and different types of stuff. So they do more family friendly events for those young families, but they also
Mhm.
do ones for, people who don't have families, right? Or someone in, I don't know, there's like all types of little
Oh yeah,
niches
they
and
do like
stuff they,
kickbox or what is that? Uh, the pickleball they do.
oh,
Why can't
right,
I think of the name? The one where they kick it, like
kickball?
kickball. I was like, what?
What are they kicking? It's kickball.
Right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it is kickball because I've heard
yeah,
about it.
so they have a group.
Um,
Yeah, there's a group for everything.
Definitely. And I think I loved what you mentioned that it might not be for everyone. But also I would say allow yourself some time to settle in with the group before you jump to something else. Because sometimes people are just busy at that event and you could meet someone that you find a really good connection with, but you just weren't able to meet that first time. So I would say at least go to like maybe 2 or 3 events with that group. Just really see if that's for you. Sometimes you know right away, sometimes it takes you a second. But
Definitely.
there's definitely something for everyone here in Palm Coast and Flagler. Even Benel has a lot of great stuff. So yeah, well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on, spending a few minutes with me, sharing a lot of your great expertise and a lot of great suggestions for people to do with their finances and then as well, of course, in town and around town. So I appreciate your time today. It was a lot of fun for me.
Same here, Macy, and thank you for having me on board. It was definitely a fun experience.
Of course. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well. And I'll see you next time.
Alrighty,
Bye.
bye.